You may face unexpected attacks. Be cautious. The night before dawn. In a quiet suburb outside Atlanta, Marcus Reed lived what most people would call a steady life. 32 years old, a high school history teacher, divorced, no kids, church on Sundays when he wasn't too tired. But for the last 18 months, something had shifted inside him. Dreams came every night, vivid, burning ones. He saw himself standing in front of crowds, speaking words that weren't his own, words that cut through pain like light through fog. He saw broken people healed, families restored, a city waking up. And always, at the end of each dream, a voice, calm, deep, unmistakable, said the same thing. Soon, be ready. Marcus started praying more, fasting on Wednesdays, reading scripture until his eyes burned. He felt it in his bones. God was preparing him for something big. Not fame, not money, just purpose, real purpose. He'd even begun writing down sermon outlines, though he'd never preached a day in his life. The words flowed like they'd been waiting years to get out. Then came the week everything unraveled. It started small. Monday morning, his car wouldn't start. The mechanic found nothing wrong, battery fine, alternator fine, but it sat dead in the driveway until Tuesday afternoon. Marcus missed 2 parent-teacher conferences and felt the guilt gnaw at him. Tuesday night, his phone blew up with texts from an old college buddy he hadn't spoken to in years. The guy was drunk, raging about how Marcus had always thought he was better than everybody, dredging up ancient arguments Marcus barely remembered. The messages kept coming until 3 a.m., each one sharper, more personal. Marcus blocked the number, but the sting stayed. On Wednesday, his mother called in tears. His younger sister, always the stable one, had been in a minor car accident. Nothing serious, but she'd been shaken, and now she was questioning everything. Her job, her marriage, her faith. She asked me why God would let this happen, his mom said. I didn't know what to tell her. Marcus drove across town to sit with his sister, praying with her until midnight. When he got home, exhaustion hit like a truck. Thursday brought the real blow. He'd been invited to speak at a small evening service at a friend's church. Nothing fancy, just sharing his testimony and a short word God had laid on his heart. He'd felt the invitation like fire in his chest. This was it, the first step, the moment God was finally going to use him. But that afternoon, an email landed from the principal. Anonymous complaints had surfaced about Marcus pushing religion in class. Nothing specific, no evidence, just enough vague accusations to trigger an investigation. He was told to keep a low profile until it cleared. His stomach dropped. He hadn't mentioned God once in any lesson that semester. He sat on his couch staring at the wall, the sermon notes crumpled in his hand. Doubt flooded in like cold water. Maybe I'm imagining all this. Maybe I'm not chosen for anything. Maybe I'm just broken. Then the phone rang, his pastor. Marcus, the old man said gently, I don't know what's hitting you right now, but I felt led to call. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. Right before God moves, the enemy panics. He throws everything at once, distractions, division, discouragement, doubt. It's not random. It's a sign you're close. Marcus exhaled, tears burning his eyes. Stay low, the pastor continued. Stay in the Word. Stay praying. Don't fight in your own strength. The attack means the breakthrough is already in motion. Be cautious, son. Guard your heart, but don't stop moving forward. That night, Marcus knelt by his bed like he had as a boy. No fancy words, just raw honesty. Lord, if this is really you, I need you to carry me through this noise. I can't see the path, but I trust you're still leading. Protect me from what I can't see. Keep my eyes on you. Friday morning, the car started on the first try. His sister texted that she and her husband had talked all night and decided to fight for their marriage. The principal called, the complaints had mysteriously evaporated, no further action needed, and the church service still on. When Marcus stood up that evening, legs shaking, voice unsteady at first, the words came anyway. Simple, honest, powerful. People cried, people prayed. Something shifted in the room. He felt it. Driving home under streetlights, Marcus smiled for the first time in days. The attacks were real, fierce, unexpected, but they hadn't stopped what God was doing. They'd only confirmed it was coming. So, if you're reading this and the storms are raging hardest right now, when you're on the edge of your assignment, when the dreams feel closest, take heart. The enemy only fights what threatens him, and that means God is ready to use you. Be cautious, stay anchored. The dawn is breaking. Marcus Reed had never been the type to chase spotlights. At 32, he was content, or at least he told himself he was, with the rhythm of his life in a modest ranch-style house on the outskirts of Atlanta. He taught U.S. history at Carver High, graded papers until his eyes blurred, coached the JV basketball team in the winters, and showed up to New Hope Baptist most Sundays, sitting in the same middle-row pew his late father used to occupy. Divorced 3 years earlier after a marriage that crumbled under unspoken grief, no kids, no drama, just steady, safe. But steadily had started feeling like stagnation. 18 months ago, the dreams began. Not vague, hazy ones. These were cinematic, searing. Night after night, they stood before crowds in abandoned warehouses, school gymnasiums, and city parks. Words poured from his mouth that weren't rehearsed, weren't even fully his. Messages of restoration, forgiveness, the fierce love of a father who never gave up. He saw faces change, tears carving clean paths through years of hardness, addicts dropping needles, marriages reconciling in real time. And every dream ended the same way. Darkness parting like a curtain, a voice like rolling thunder wrapped in velvet saying, "Soon, be ready, the time is near." Marcus didn't tell anyone at first. Who would believe him? He wasn't a pastor, hadn't been to seminary, he was just Marcus. But the fire wouldn't die down. He began waking at 5 a.m. to pray in the quiet dark of his living room. He fasted every Wednesday, skipped lunch and dinner, letting hunger sharpen his focus. He filled notebooks with scripture and sermon fragments, outlines on grace that felt downloaded, not drafted. One line kept surfacing: "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34:18. It felt personal, urgent. He sensed it deep in his spirit. God was forging something. Not fame, not a megachurch, just authentic kingdom impact. A door was cracking open. Then the door began to rattle, hard. It started on a Monday in late October, the kind of crisp fall day that usually lifted his mood. His 2014 Honda Civic refused to turn over. Dead. The mechanic at the corner shop ran every test. Battery perfect, alternator fine, starter good. Nothing. It sat useless in the driveway until Wednesday. Marcus missed 2 parent-teacher conferences, including one with a single mom whose son was failing and acting out. The guilt sat heavily. Coincidence, he wondered, or something else? Tuesday night, his phone lit up like a war zone. An old college roommate, Jamal, someone he hadn't spoken to in 8 years, started texting at 11 p.m., drunk, bitter, digging up a decade-old arguments Marcus barely remembered. "You always acted like you were better than us," Jamal typed. "Mr. Holy now, huh? Bet you think God's got big plans for you while the rest of us rot." The messages escalated, accusations, old wounds reopened, threats to expose things Marcus had long repented of. By 3 a.m., Marcus blocked the number, hands shaking. Sleep didn't come. Doubt whispered, "Maybe you're not who you think you are." On Tuesday night, his mother called sobbing. His younger sister, Keisha, the dependable one, the nurse, the one who held the family together, had been rear-ended on I-285. Minor damage, whiplash, but the scare cracked something open in her. She sat on her couch that night, telling their mom, "What's the point? I pray, I serve, I try to do right, and God lets this happen?" Marcus drove 45 minutes through rush-hour traffic to hold her while she cried. They prayed together until past midnight. When he finally collapsed into bed at 2 a.m., exhaustion felt like drowning. Thursday was supposed to be the turning point. A friend from church, Pastor Tony from Grace Community had invited Marcus to share a short testimony and a word at their Thursday evening prayer service. Nothing grand, just 20 minutes, but Marcus had felt the invitation like a lightning strike to the chest. This is it. God's about to move. That afternoon, an email from his principal hit like ice water. Anonymous parent complaints have been filed, alleging you're pushing religious views in class. We're launching a routine review. Please refrain from any faith-related discussion until cleared. Keep a low profile. Marcus stared at the screen. He hadn't mentioned God, Jesus, or the Bible once that semester. Not in lectures, not in side conversations. The accusations were vague, faceless, but they were enough to trigger protocol. His stomach knotted. They're trying to silence me before I even speak. He sat on the couch, sermon notes crumpled in his fist. The room felt smaller, darker. Voices collided in his head. You're imagining all this. You're not chosen. You're delusional. Give up. It's safer. You'll ruin everything you have left. Tears came hot and fast. He hadn't cried like that since the divorce. Then the phone rang. Pastor Elijah, his own shepherd at New Hope, the 72-year-old retired steelworker who still prayed like a general. Marcus, the old voice said, steady as ever. I don't know the full story, but the Spirit woke me at 3 this morning with your name. Whatever's hitting you right now, it ain't random. The enemy doesn't waste bullets on empty battlefields. He panics when he smells breakthrough. Right before God promotes, before he uses a vessel, the warfare spikes. Distractions, division, discouragement, doubt, sickness, accusations, old wounds reopened. It's textbook spiritual overtime. Marcus exhaled, throat tight. Think about David at Baal Perizim. Right when he became king, Philistines came hard, twice. God broke through like rushing waters. Or Jesus, 40 days fasting, then boom, Satan hits with every temptation right before public ministry launches. The closer the promise, the fiercer the fight. Job lost everything right before double restoration. The Israelites at Kadesh Barnea, edge of Canaan, then rebellion, delay. The patterns everywhere. Attack means you're close, son. Be cautious. Guard your heart. Don't swing in your flesh. Stay low. Stay in the Word. Let God fight. Marcus knelt that night beside his bed like he was 10 years old again. No fancy prayer, just raw. Father, I feel targeted, exposed, tired. If this calling is real, carry me. Protect what I can't see. Silence the lies. Keep my eyes locked on you. I don't want to quit right at the edge. Friday dawned strangely peaceful. The car started on the first try, no explanation. Keisha texted. She and her husband had talked through the night. They were choosing counseling, choosing each other. The principal called mid-morning. The complaints were withdrawn. No merit. You're clear. And the service? Still on. When Marcus stepped to the mic that evening, the small sanctuary was half full, maybe 70 people. His knees trembled. Voice cracked on the first sentence. But then something shifted. The words came, not polished, not dramatic, just honest. He spoke about hidden seasons, about attacks that feel personal but are really prophetic, about how the enemy only fights what threatens his kingdom, about Psalm 34:18 and how God is closest when we're crushed. People wept openly. A young man in the back stood, tears streaming, and said, I've been running from God for years. Tonight, I'm coming home. Others followed. The altar is filled. Marcus didn't preach long, just 25 minutes, but heaven touched earth in that room. Driving home under sodium streetlights, windows cracked, cool air on his face, Marcus smiled for the first time in a week. The attacks had been surgical, relentless, unexpected. They'd hit his confidence, his family, his reputation, his rest. But they hadn't stopped the move of God. They'd confirmed it. If you're reading this and the pressure is unbearable, if distractions multiply, old sins resurface, accusations fly from nowhere, health falters, relationships fracture, doubt screams loudest, don't interpret it as abandonment. Interpret it as intel. The enemy doesn't waste overtime on nobodies. He panics when he senses promotion, purpose, and destiny unfolding. You're not breaking. You're on the verge of a breakthrough. Stay vigilant. Stay anchored in prayer and scripture. Laugh at the darts. They're proof the dawn is closer than it feels. Guard your heart. The night is almost over. God is ready to use you.